Good afternoon. My name is Barbara Fuller, and as chair of the board, I welcome you to this October 3rd, 2023 regular meeting of the Washtenaw County Board of Road Commissioners. Our office coordinator, Aaron Smith, will describe how our meetings operate, how to access the agenda packet, and how people may participate remotely. Aaron.
Thanks, Chair Fuller. There are multiple ways to make public comment during today's board meeting, whether you're joining us in person or virtually. If you're here in person and would like to make public comment, please fill out the sign-in sheet now. If you're joining us virtually, we will ask you to raise your hand at the appropriate time in the agenda. If you're joining us virtually and are experiencing technical issues with audio or video during the meeting, submit a comment in the chat feature and our communications manager will help you troubleshoot. The audio and video of this meeting is being recorded, and a link to the recording will be posted to wcroads.org in the next few days. There are printed copies of today's meeting agenda on the table near the front door, and it is also posted on our website. And now I'll turn it over to Chair Fuller.
Thank you, Aaron. I now call this October 3rd, 2023 regular meeting to order and ask Aaron to please call the roll.
Chair Barb Fuller.
Present.
Vice Chair Rod Green.
Present.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Present.
Commissioner Joanne McCullum.
Present.
And Commissioner Jeff Smurs.
Present.
And then the following directors are in attendance: Managing Director Cheryl Siddle, Director of Engineering and County Highway Engineer Matt McDonald, Director of Operations Adam Lape, and Director of Finance and IT Dan Ackerman.
Thank you. If you would please join us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So move. Second.
Any discussion, additions, deletions, corrections? Seeing none, Aaron, if you'd please call the roll.
Commissioner Rod Green.
Here. Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Smurs.
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCullum.
Yes.
And Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. The agenda is approved unanimously as presented. We next have two sets of minutes to accept. May I have a motion to accept the board meeting minutes of September 19th, 2023 as presented, pages 4 through 13.
So move.
Support. Any additions, deletions, or corrections to those regular board meeting minutes? Seeing none, Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Smurs.
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCullum.
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green.
Yes.
And Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. The minutes are accepted. Next, may I have a motion to accept the working session minutes of September 19th, 2023 as presented, appearing on pages 14 through 16.
I'll make that motion. Support.
Any amendments, changes, deletions? Seeing none, Aaron, please.
Commissioner Rod Green.
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCullum.
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Smurs.
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
And Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. The working session minutes of September 19th, 2023 are accepted as presented. Next item on our agenda is public comment. This is the time set aside on the agenda to receive public comments. This is not intended to be a period for dialogue. Each person will be allotted 3 minutes to address the board. Aaron will explain how people may be recognized to offer comments. Aaron?
Thanks, Chair Fuller. Since this is a hybrid meeting with both in-person and virtual attendees, we will take turns between those attending in person and virtually. So we'll start with our in-person attendees. We will start with those who signed up on the sign-in sheet as you walked in. If you didn't sign in, you're still welcome to make comment. I'll notify you when it is your turn. We do have Janet that would like to make public comment. Great, thank you very much.
Hello, if you would be so kind as to state your name and your address for us, please.
Yeah.
If it's green, you're on.
There it is. Okay.
You're on.
Okay, great, wonderful. Thank you very much, Commissioner Fuller and all commissioners. I'm Janet Reynolds Snyder. My address is 2045 Z Road. And I'm here today. This is my very first board of Washtenaw County Road Commission meeting because my property is on your agenda for today. So I wanted to be here to put a face to my name and also let you know a little bit about me and the property that you're discussing, which has been owned by the same family for nearly 60 years. We raised 3 children there, all who grew up through the Dexter school system. And now I have grandchildren in the Dexter school system. So I hope to, my husband passed away 9 years ago, but I hope to stay on the property for a time to come. By profession, I am the executive director of the Michigan Federation for Children and Families in Lansing, which is a nonprofit statewide organization of private nonprofit community-based organizations. We have 60 members that provide child welfare and family welfare services throughout all 83 counties in Michigan. So through that work and to that point, I am knowledgeable about the importance of community partnerships and also working with state government leadership and also legislative leadership. I wanted to be here in case you had any questions for me today. And as I say, to introduce myself, to put a face to the name.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Reynolds.
Thank you.
Ms. Snyder, Ms. Reynolds Snyder. Janet. Okay. Anyone else, Aaron?
Not at this time.
All right, not virtually either?
No virtual either.
All right, very good. We will move on to written communications appearing on pages 17 and 18 of our packet. Commissioners, is there anything you wanted to draw our attention to or comment about? Seeing none, we will proceed. Commissioners or staff, any remarks following up to Ms. Snyder's comments?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner McCollum.
I want to thank you, Mrs. Reynolds, for coming to our meeting and for that wonderful talk about your background and things like that. My background's in social work, so I could appreciate, yeah, my ears went up when you start talking, and thank you for all the hard work that you do.
Anyone else? All right, we will move on to new business consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, items 1 through 5, pages 19 through 23?
Support.
Any discussion on any of those? Any questions on any of the items? Seeing none, Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Smurs.
Yes.
Commissioner Rock Green
Yes.
and Commissioner Bart Fuller.
Yes, the consent agenda is approved as presented. Moving right along, our next item, we have one action item. May I have a motion to approve the motion to request the Washtenaw County Board of Commissioners to place renewal and restoration of the county road and non-motorized millage on the 2024 state and local primary election ballot. There's background on page 15 of this packet. It's part of the working session minutes from September 19th. The motion itself appears on page 24. May I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, that upon the recommendation of the County Highway Engineering Director of Engineering and the concurrence of the Managing Director, the board hereby requests that Washtenaw County Board of Commissioners place renewal and restoration of the 4-year .5 mil road levy before the voters of Washtenaw County at the 2024 state and local primary election.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion, commissioners, on this resolution? Seeing none, Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Rock Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Smurs,
Yes.
and Commissioner Bart Fuller.
Yes, the action item is approved as presented. Next, we have reports of our county commissioner liaisons. I see that Commissioner Sanders is with us today. Commissioner Sanders, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I don't really have anything to add, just to let you know that we are having our next Board of Commissioners meeting is scheduled for tomorrow, starting at 5:30 and then again at 7. That's it. Good to see everybody virtually.
Thank you, Commissioner. Give our regards to Commissioner Light, please.
Thank you. I will.
Next, we have report of the road commissioners. Let's start with Commissioner Smers.
On September 27th, I attended the Linden Township Local Roads Unpaved Road Training via Zoom. I found it a really good refresher for local road information, dirt road information. I saw that Matt and Adam were there and were able to answer questions when the public had questions. And I've heard some things from my neighbors that a few that had watched, and they felt a little more reassured that things were being done. So sound like it went really well.
How many people would you estimate were there, Commissioner?
I
Could
didn't-
you tell?
You couldn't
from-
tell in person.
Okay.
But on Zoom, there was about 7, 8 people that were there.
Okay. All
So I
right.
don't know, you'd have to ask Matt or Adam how many were there in public. or in
I'm sure
person.
he'll enlighten us when they're, right? Okay. Commissioner Yamas?
I reviewed via YouTube a road commission meeting of 9/12. I watched via Zoom the road commission meeting on 9/26. And I reviewed all the weekly legislative updates from the CRA. And that is my report.
Commissioner Green?
Thank you. Madam Chair, on September the 20th, I attended the early morning breakfast, which was sponsored by the Ann Arbor Ypsilanti Chamber of Commerce, where there was a discussion about the U of M expansion and land use and accessibility, especially on North Campus. And I also attended on the 20th of September, the chat session
What day was the chat session?
on the 20th of
On
September.
the 20th. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That concludes my report.
All right. Commissioner McCollum?
Yes, Madam Chair. I viewed the Ann Arbor Saline Road virtual information meeting. And before I viewed it, it was like 55 minutes long. And I thought, wow, this is going to be an interesting presentation. But what was so good about it was that the presentation wasn't that long. It was the input and feedback from the people that was so interesting. So I was very glad to see that. I'm always glad to see people really involved in asking the questions of what's going on with their roads. So that was good. And on September 24th, I attended a honoring of Debbie, Debbie Senator Stabenow and several other people being honored for the wonderful things that they do in the community. And it was wonderful to see our chair, Barb Fuller, in charge of that and getting full room overflow of over 200 people there to support the Great Lakes list of women. And it was so wonderful to hear the progress that women were making in the political arena. So I really enjoyed that. That's my report. Thank you.
I will report that on September 20th, I attended the meeting of the Washtenaw Area Transportation Study. We often refer to it as WATS. And on September 25th, I attended the Roads Plus meeting in Lansing. And that concludes my report. We will move on to the report of the managing director, her staff, and any other updates.
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner Fuller. Couple of things. Since our last board meeting on September 19th, when we had a group of residents from the West Willow area who had concerns about some flooding, staff has been spending a fair amount of time following up on those concerns, primarily trying to investigate what exactly we believe was the root cause of that event and the issues associated with it, the responsible entities. And then have been working on a communication that has now been reviewed by McChrysip, our insurance carrier, so that we can respond hopefully either later this afternoon or first thing tomorrow morning to those residents who were here. Again, that was at our September 19th board meeting. In addition, staff will be meeting with representatives of Yucca and the Water Resources Office to have ongoing discussions about what can or cannot occur with respect to drainage in that area as well. So are there any questions about that? I know obviously there was a group of concerned residents who were here at our last board meeting.
Commissioner McCollum.
Madam Chair. Cheryl, thank you so much for the follow-up on the residents from West Willow. And they, them allowing them to be heard and responding to them in such a timely manner. It was so helpful, even though what they went through was, something devastating. Still, to know that someone was listening and working on the issue is very helpful. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate that feedback.
Cheryl, I would just inquire to see if you could add to your list of things you're going to discuss is what the impact of having Washtenaw County declared a disaster area might have had in terms of some kind of help, compensation, attention to those issues. I understand Washtenaw County was not so designated, and I'm just wondering how that works. I do not know.
We can do that.
Thank you.
Other than that, obviously, we have a series of changes that are soon to come. We've been interviewing mostly internally for various positions as the transition is about to take effect on October 19th. Matt Washtenaw will sit beside me as managing director for a short period of time, obviously with him taking home as soon as I retire. And then Brent Schlack has been promoted or will be promoted to the Director of Engineering. Aaron Burkholz will become our new Assistant Director of Engineering, and we have currently posted to the supervisory positions of both Aaron Burkholz and Brent Schlack, what they currently hold today, so that those will be backfilled. So that effort continues. In the meantime, Matt and I have been going around and meeting with, I don't know, we're about maybe halfway, a third of the way, somewhere in there, through meeting with our crews, just talking to them. Obviously, it's a change for them coming up. I keep saying we've been in existence for 104 years. We still do today a lot of what we did 100 years ago. I don't think that's going to make dramatic changes. So trying to sort of, not get anyone too uptight, but it is still a change in hearing them out and just touching base and introducing Matt in a different role to them. So it's actually been a lot of fun. But like I said, we're about somewhere between a third and halfway through meeting with all the different crews and groups that we have within the organization. So with that, and I forgot to ask, do you have any questions with respect to the various reports that were in the board packet, the staff reports?
I don't see any.
All right, so at that, I'd be happy to hand it over. We have Adam Lape, our Director of Operations.
Good afternoon, Adam Lape, Director of Operations. A quick update for the Linden Local Roads Committee that hosted that local road funding and maintenance training session here last week. From my notes when I was in the room, and I wasn't able to see all the virtual attendees, but we had representatives from Linden, Webster, Dexter, Lima, Manchester, Bridgewater, Sylvan, and Ann Arbor townships. Both of that was elected officials and some just constituents and local roads advisory committee members as well. So kind of a balance and a mix of all those groups. So
Would you name those townships that were represented again, please?
Yes.
I got Linden, Webster, Dexter,
Lima,
Lima.
Manchester, Bridgewater, Sylvan, and Ann Arbor Township.
Thank you.
And then last week as well, our staff completed the Prospect Road culvert. So it was a large culvert we installed that was in preparation for a paving project that Matt's team and Brent's team put on for us. So it's kind of nice. We snuck in there under closure and got a nice big culvert changed out and on we go. So we shouldn't be back there for a while. So that was a highlight to last week. We spent quite a bit of time. It was a pretty big culvert. Some of the social media posts you've seen, probably pictures of some of that culvert. It was quite long once we got it together. So it was a little bit of a lift to get it in there, but our staff did great and good coordination. So we got that job done last week. And then a portion of the crews have actually started preparing our equipment for snow and ice, unfortunately. And this is also what we refer to as dry run, which I've made a note at the last board meeting, but now we're actually doing it. So a portion of the crews have started that, and we'll stagger that back and forth a little bit to avail space and ample space for the crews to work in some of our service centers. It's not productive to bring everybody in at once off the road. We just don't have the space to spread all the trucks out and spread out all the parts and the plows and kind of go through all the maintenance and all the materials and paint and everything we need to kind of prep at once. So we have to stagger that a little bit. So you'll see that over the next few weeks, and then each crew will culminate in some type of inspection. And then they'll be ready for the winter time, and we'll go back to doing some maintenance then after that. But each crew spends about a week and a half prepping their equipment, and then kind of pray that the snow stays away for a little while, but at least we're prepared and our plows are mounted, and give some time for the crews to get out actually on their route. So the driver can be on their assigned route and actually move around and kind of feel it out a little bit, feel the truck out, get used to the equipment, and make the little tweaks we need before the fall.
And what's the award to the most proficient or
So
spotless? or
yeah,
best paint
the
job
winning
or
group, so we do a couple, but the winning group gets the golden plow. So that's the one that
golden
everybody's,
plow? That's
yeah, everyone's chasing for. And unfortunately, it is just a piece of gold sheet metal, but we take a lot of pride in that little box. With a little,
Gold sheet metal.
yes, ma'am.
Wow.
So we take a lot of pride in that. So we've had threats of mounting it to the cabinetry so no one can take it from yard to yard, but that's just pride. So we like that. So
Good
so it
healthy
keeps it fun.
good healthy competition.
Yeah, so we got a little competition around here.
So it's a traveling trophy.
Yes, it is. That is correct.
See.
Yes. No one wants it to travel, but it ends up traveling, and that's all right.
Mm-hmm.
That means we're getting better. And then finally, the material storage building, as you probably pulled in today, you see a large wall out there. So we're getting there. The walls are essentially complete. Some finalization to finish that out. And then they started preparing for the floor slabs, so they can start working on pouring those floors, basically pouring the floor inside it, and then start pouring the floor on the outside of the structure. So one day at a time, we keep moving a lot of concrete and a lot of re-steel out there, reinforcing steel, but we're making it happen. We're getting there.
And what's the target completion date?
So we hope to be done with the actual building in December. So our delays from the steel for the reinforcing steel push us back into December, which perfectly fine. Thankfully, we have a standing salt shed that we can
Right.
get the old material out of. So it'll probably help us out in the long run to be able to use the material as opposed to just transfer it across the parking lot. And that's actually my update, unless there are any questions specific to any things I brought up.
Commissioner Green.
With the culvert being completed on Prospect Road, does that move up the date for reopening?
Actually, Matt may have a little update on that. We still had paving to do. So I
Okay.
don't think that changed any of the schedule. We just try to work ahead of time.
I
And
see.
so that's done prior to the paving schedule.
I
So
see.
I don't believe any of the schedule will change in that matter just because of the culvert.
It's
Matt
still the
may have a
13th,
little
I
more
think.
specific
Correct.
update to that. Yeah,
Okay, all right, thank you.
yeah. Matt, maybe if you want to come up, I do know we were paving south towards Reland Road at one point this week, last update I heard.
Yeah, the milling is complete,
Thank you.
paving is scheduled for this week. So I was gonna cover that, so it was a nice dovetail.
Yeah, it's perfect. If no one else
Good
had anything.
transition.
Thank
Well,
you.
hang on. Any other questions? Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Hi, Matt McDonnell, Director of Engineering. Yeah, so that was one of the projects we were reporting on. Other work that's going on, happy to report March Road in Ypsilanti Township has been reopened. So that paving work got completed between Whitaker Road and Tuttle Hill Road. That was portion millage funded, portion road commission funded primary road. The old US 12 culvert looks great. So our crews did the bulk of that work. The paving got complete from our countywide contractor. And then ongoing paving work happening in Ypsilanti Township on the local subdivision roads through our township agreements. So that's work that's ongoing in the field. As Commissioner McCollum had noted, we did have an Ann Arbor Saline Road virtual meeting with several concerned citizens that had contacted the road commission regarding trucking, noise, speeding along the Ann Arbor Saline Road segment between Maple and Oak Valley. So we had thought it best to work with the township and host a virtual meeting to talk with that neighborhood. I thought it went really well. We've had several follow-up phone conversations and emails. So it's ongoing. It's an education effort. And there are some things that we're going to be working with the township, particularly the pedestrian crossing at the intersection of Bella Vista Community at Tiger Lily Drive. That is something that will get planned and likely get started at some point next year. We work quite closely with Pittsfield Township on pedestrian facility and enhancements. So we're quite accustomed to working through those desired improvements. So
Who pays for those, Matt?
Pittsfield Township.
Okay.
Any questions on that? Okay. Staff is also in the engineering department, very busy prepping for 2024 projects. This time of year, we're submitting things to Michigan Department of Transportation to get through their local agency bidding process and into bid lettings so that we can essentially get started in construction next year. A couple of those projects I'll mention by name, and you'll see it in the upcoming 2024 budget in next month. But Whitaker and Willis Road Roundabout, there'll be a virtual meeting for that in November. I believe a notification went out. That's in Augusta Township. The Miller Road at Z Road Roundabout project in Scioto Township. And then we have North Territorial Dexter Town Hall intersection improvement with also a hill cut of safety money that's getting ready and finalized for bidding. And then we have the Stony Creek Road structure replacement in Ypsilanti Township. That's between Textile Road and Whitaker Road. And then we have our CMAQ project in 2024. So we're working with the city of Saline on that one. So that was a nice joint project and application. So lots going on along with all the millage work and preparation for next year. So it will be another busy year, banner year. Yeah.
Wow. Questions for Matt?
Okay, very good. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you, Matt. And last but not least, we have Dan Ackerman, our Director of Finance and IT.
Good afternoon, Board. Dan Ackerman, Director of Finance and IT. Fairly brief report for you today. Last time when we met, 19 out of the 20 townships have paid their first township billing. Happy reports 20 out of 20. And I want to say it was the day I reported to you, so maybe it was Murphy's Law or something that we received the final check.
That's great.
We've also have already prepared for final township billings, which is the earliest I've ever seen it. But in my opinion, if the work's done, let's go ahead and invoice. So that's been a nice, we continue to make improvements with that program, which is great. So the other day I received a letter from the state of Michigan with regards to PA 202. If you recall, PA 202 is, we're required to report information on our pension and our OPEB. And no surprise, the state has found that our pension is underfunded. Again, if it's under 60% funded, it's considered underfunded. We've been going through this the last several years. I thought maybe there'd be a moratorium on that since there was the pension protection grant money that we are recipients of. But there's not. So maybe the two agencies don't talk to each other, or who knows. But so my goal, we have 45 days, but my goal is by the next board meeting to have we have to file a waiver to say, we're making strides to get to that 60% threshold. And obviously the money we receive from the grant will help us with that. And I certainly will include that with our reasonings as to why, along with everything else that we've reported the last few years. So I'm not concerned about that at all. And next year, hopefully, we'll be at that 60% threshold or over, and we won't have to worry about it. I mean, it's still a requirement that all municipalities report this information, but hopefully we won't have to apply for a waiver in the future. So any questions on that at all?
So the report that says we're underfunded is based on 2021
It's based on December 31st of 22.
of 22.
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay,
Yes.
And those grant monies were just received.
right.
Right. So
Right.
maybe that's why too.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that, but yes.
Commissioner Green.
Thank you. And what happens if we don't meet that 60% threshold?
So you apply for the waiver. The waiver basically says, we know we're underfunded. But we are doing things to get to that level. And we also provide a year, estimated year where we think we'll get to that 60%. And then the state looks it over and they say, this seems reasonable, and either approve it or not. And, you know, they've approved our waiver the last several years, of course, so.
So there's no penalty attached? Nothing like
Nope.
that. Okay, thank you.
As long as they approve your plan.
Right. The worst case scenario is they don't approve your plan, and eventually it's almost like an emergency manager
Right.
scenario where they come in and help you with your liability. So,
You don't want.
yeah, that's right. Any
He's
other?
got jokes now.
So you've submitted and successfully for waivers. How many years running now, Dan?
I want to say, was this like 2017?
2017, so I believe 2018, we would have started
So
doing
probably, yeah,
this.
2018 was the first year, so. And if you recall, it takes 6 months or so for them to process it, so,
Even with your gentle inquiries, as I recall.
yes, right.
And originally, we had to apply for our OPEB as well, but we did meet the minimum threshold with respect to funding for OPEB. So
Correct.
that is no longer a requirement for us to submit that waiver for the OPEB.
And remind us how much we strive to add in addition to our required minimum payment each
To,
year,
which one?
to either of them or both,
About $500,000.
Each.
to each,
Yeah, each.
right,
Right, over and above what is required.
correct, okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Questions on
Yes,
that?
Commissioner
Did
Schmers.
they give you a percentage of where we're at now?
The percentage for the pension?
Yeah.
I want to say it was like about 53%, so we're close. Yeah, and that's things that we report to them, so,
That was prior to receiving the.
prior to
Yeah,
receiving
no,
the
I
money, right?
understand that,
Yes,
yeah.
yep.
That's
Mhm.
previous numbers, yes.
Yep.
No, I understand that.
And-
So it sounds like it would be real close. if
Mhm.
not
Yes.
over.
Yep.
And that was the whole goal of the funds being received, to
Yep.
get us to 60%. And as you know, the money is at MERS and will be included with our actuary for, as of December 31st of 23. So when we receive that report, it'll probably be about next summer. We'll know the full impact of all that. And of course, you know, it depends on what the markets do and all the other variables as well.
Mhm.
Any other questions on that at all?
I
Okay,
don't see it.
if you could go to the last page of your packet. You have the latest Michigan Transportation Fund numbers. And August of 23, they were up 5% compared to August of 22. And for 8 months, we're about 7% higher than last year. So again, trending well compared to our budget. So
Yeah.
just got to hold the line for a few more months. So we're happy with those numbers as well. And as far as IT, the OneDrive migration is about 80% complete. Hoping to have that done by the end of the year, and it certainly seems like we're on track to do so. Been working with Chris and Josh to develop the budget for IT for 2024. And also the motion sensors, I believe we talked about that as far as all the conference rooms and assembly room with the technology, those are all complete as well. So. And that's all I have, unless there's any other questions.
Just want to thank you for your stewardship on all of this over the years, Dan. I mean, you've kept us on the right side of that line.
Yes, yes.
I know you had a whole team working with you on that, but I really appreciate how conscientious you are. And I think you and I are aligned on our philosophies with this whole thing as well as with our managing directors. But thanks.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate it. Certainly, the board has also made it a priority, which makes it easier for us to, you know, try to meet these targets. And, you know, I think staff, the leadership team also is pretty unison with a lot of this. So it's definitely a team effort, and, you know, I feel good about the progress we're making.
Anything else?
Thank you.
I don't see any.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, Dan. That's it from staff.
That's all. Okay. At this time then, may I have a motion to enter closed session under section 8E of the Open Meetings Act to discuss the acquisition of right-of-way for parcel 2 of the Miller Road at Zeeb Road roundabout project in Scioto Township.
So move.
Support.
Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Smurs.
Yes.
And Commissioner Burt Fuller.
Yes, we are entering closed session.
Commissioner Jeff Smurs.
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum.
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green.
Yes.
And Commissioner Burt Fuller.
Yes, we are now in open session once again. At this time, we have two action items to consider. May I have a motion to adopt the resolution of declaration of taking as presented for parcel 2 located at Miller Road at Zeeb Road Roundabout Project located at 2045 North Zeeb Road in Scioto Township, Washtenaw County, parcel number H-08-16-100-023.
So moved.
Support.
Is there discussion? Seeing none, if you would please call the roll, Aaron.
Commissioner Rod Green.
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum.
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Smurs.
Yes.
And Commissioner Burt Fuller.
Yes. The first motion is adopted. Secondly, may I have a motion to adopt the resolution of just compensation as presented for parcel 2 located at Miller Road at Zeeb Road Roundabout Project located at 2045 North Zeeb Road in Scioto Township, Washtenaw County, parcel H-08-16-100-023.
So moved.
Support.
Is there discussion? Seeing none, Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Rod Green.
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum.
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Smurs.
Yes.
And Commissioner Burt Fuller.
Yes, the second motion is adopted as well. If there is no further business to come before the board, I want to note that on October 17th, we will have a working session and a regular board meeting. The working session convenes at 9, the regular board meeting at 1. The virtual chat sessions that occur every Wednesday from noon to 1 p.m. Tomorrow, Commissioner Joanne McCollum is the road commissioner assigned to that session. And on October 11th, I will be staffing the chat session. Having no further business to come before this board, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Support. Support.
Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Jeff Smurs.
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum.
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green.
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
And Commissioner Burt Fuller.
Yes, we are adjourned.